Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be going over the all-new 2020 Toyota 4Runner Venture, which, yes, it is essentially the budget version of the TRD Pro. So anyways, as always, we're going to do a quick walk around on the Venture, then we're going to take it out and see how it drives. A big shout out and thank you to Brent Brown Toyota here in Orem, Utah for providing us with the 4Runner. Check out their inventory in the link below if you're in the market for a new Toyota. Under the hood of the 4Runner, we have a naturally aspirated 4-liter V6. It goes through a 5-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy 16 around town and 19 on the highway. Power outputs are 270 horsepower and then 278 pound-feet of torque. Now, other than the obvious roof rack up there, let's finish things up on the front end. So you can see that we've got this nice little performance hood scoop at the front. You've got the projector bulbs just down below with the fog lights. Blacked out Toyota logo right there. You can see kind of like the whole front end comes up. Obviously to give that cool like skid plate look, and then you can see the tire there to the side. But here's just one more look at the front end of the 4Runner Venture. Now around the side here of the Venture, we've got 17-inch rims, 265mm tires in the front and in the rear. And no, those are not aftermarket. I love what Toyota's doing with the bolts on it. It looks super sweet. Obviously you can see the brake calipers pretty crammed in those 17-inch rims. Got little mud flaps. You've got the side steps, obviously the off-road side steps that all the Toyotas have, and then the mud flap in the rear. And then here is a side view on the 4Runner Venture. So you've got the key fob here, you've got the unlock and the lock, and we'll see if it has remote start. So we press it, we hold it, and wait. Okay, it looks like it doesn't have a remote start, but if we unlock it, we can come over here to the rear hatch, which we can open that up. You can see it's hydraulic function. Tons of storage space back here. You can see it's got a little pouch. It says Toyota on it. All of the floor mats. Got a little charging station in the back, which I actually might have to use because the camera's dying. But rest of the rubber mats. And then you can see over here, flat loading floor. Now, you can get the 4Runners with a third row, or you can also get them without a third row. Completely up to your discretion. And then they've got these little loops to pull down to lower it, but they don't really work. I find that either grabbing onto at least this part, but even better, just that part of the rear, and then that's what closes it up the best. Now going over the rest of the 4Runner Venture, you can see up top we have the little rack, which, yes, this is all from the factory. Pretty neat setup, obviously, for going out and venturing. But anyways, you got the taillights back there with the 4Runner logo and the Toyota logo. I really like the look of the taillights on the 4Runner. They definitely have this cool, like, sporty look. And then you can see the rest of the bumper. You got the receiver hitch just down below at the bottom. And then here's one more look at the rear. Now to the rear here of the Venture, you can see that you've got this nice leather padding here with the contrasted stitching. Got the little black trim right there, one of the window controls. You got the little door handle here on the side. And then here are the seats in the rear. See, you've got that red stitching. The seats are actually really soft here in the Venture. And then we can pull this down. You got little cup holders. And then over here, you've got a couple of charging stations with the vents. And then you got the little pockets back to store some stuff in the rear. But here's one more look at the back of the Venture. Now to the front of the Venture here, we can see again, we've got that nice leather with the stitching. Again, more black trim. One of the door handles, more of the window controls with the lock and unlock function, speaker for the sound system, then obviously you can see the side steps. And then here's the seat in the front, and it says TRD at the top. You've got the nice rest of the leather, you've got the contrasted stitching on it, got your power adjustments for the seat, and then you've got the pedal layout just down below. You've got the little hood latch right there, and then that is to turn on the power outlets, obviously your mirror controls, lights, and then the steering wheel is going to be manually adjustable. And here's one more look at the front. Now start up the Venture, put your foot on the brake, push the push start, and then everything will come to life. Gauges will do a little bit of a graphic right there, which says 4Runner. I think that's a pretty cool look. Here is the steering wheel. We can zoom in on the steering wheel. You can see the Toyota logo there in the center. You got this all for the little center stack. That's your back button, your pages button. You've got that for the collision warning, lane departure assistance. And then the bottom of the steering wheel, it's got this nice kind of like black trim. phone controls right there, your voice commands, and then your audio controls. That's your stock for the windshield wipers, and then that is your stock for the lights and the turn signals. Now I've got the gauge clusters right here. You've got the RPMs on the left side, on the right side you've got the speed, and then you've got that little center part, which there's a couple different menus that you can scroll through to give you different bits of information here on the 4Runner Venture, just like all of the other upgraded Toyotas. Nothing too crazy or special going on there. We've got the whole center touchscreen situation happening here, so you've got some analog buttons on the sides right here, and then you can kind of see what happens when I actually press the buttons, just the response time on everything with all the applications and all of that. I feel like it's got a pretty decent response time on it. And yes, we've got to go over the backup camera. See the backup camera pop up, you've got trajectory lines. They do not turn with the steering wheel. I feel like the resolution on the camera is actually pretty good. You can see a little water droplet right there. Other than that though, I think it's a pretty solid infotainment system. I like the feel of the controls for the radio, especially the volume control. The volume control has a nice feel to it. Now we can see down in this area we've got our climate controls. So you can see over here you've got your fan speed and then the type of climate that you want, and then obviously the temperature. It is a single zone climate here in the 4Runner. And obviously you got your rear defroster, a couple charging stations just down there in that area, and I've got the whole like shifter area that's happening. So that is your shifter for the drive modes, and you can actually feel it vibrate with the car. So this is what's going to have your 2-wheel high, 4-wheel high, neutral, and then your 4-wheel low will be done with this shifter. This is the shifter for the 5-speed automatic, which it does have a manual shift mode if you do want to shift the gears yourself. Another cup holder right here. This is the power rear sliding window, which goes all the way down, which I think is really cool. I think more vehicles should get a window like what Toyota has. And then you've got your heated seat controls, which we should turn that up because it's kind of cold outside. I really like the trim all around this, and yeah. Center console here with the red stitching, obviously that makes it a little bit sportier. I can see the storage space within that, and then we pop over here to the glove box, which opening that up, you can see there's a decent amount of storage space within the glove box. Got this nice kind of trim up just above it, and done. So we actually have a ton of off-road gadgets happening up here, but we're gonna go over the sunroof first. So you can see as a regular sunroof, just like all the other Toyotas, nothing too fancy there. Light controls. This right here is the locker for the rear. You've got your A-track stability control. Now this is your kind of like terrain select, so your drive modes. So like your snow mode, your sand mode, rock mode, all that kind of stuff. So you push it in, then you can switch between it. So if I push it in, then it'll pop up right there and I can go through the different drive modes. Now this is like your kind of like off-road cruise control. Essentially it's your crawl control, which you have to be in 4-wheel low to go through that, but you can switch through the different segments, and I'll just kind of zoom in on those two controls so you guys can actually see all of the functionality on them. Now let's wrap things up on the 4Runner Venture here by talking about pricing. So this particular 4Runner Venture stickers for about $45,000 before any type of market adjustment, which I feel like is a pretty good value for all the stuff you're getting, and obviously it's not nearly as expensive as the TRD Pro. That all being said though, let's take this 4Runner Venture out to see how it drives. Before we set off in the 4Runner Venture, let's talk about visibility. So you can see visibility of the hood's pretty good. It's got that massive hood scoop, so kind of looks cool just to be able to see a giant bulge in the hood. See visibility throughout the mirror, and then the other mirror. Nice to see TRD in the seat, and then you can see visibility all throughout the rear. It's got big windows, so it's actually really easy to see out of the 4Runner. That all being said, let's set off. Now initially setting off here in the 4Runner, let's talk about road noise and ride quality. So in terms of road noise, I feel like the cabin's actually really well insulated. Toyota across their SUV lineup actually does a really good job of insulating the cabins. Now in terms of ride quality, it's actually really smooth. For being such a hardcore off-road SUV, obviously with all the off-road tech that this 4Runner has, it actually rides exceptionally smooth on road. Now let's briefly talk about steering here on the 4Runner Venture. So the steering is very light. I would say that, in terms of directness, it's actually more direct than like a Sequoia or a Land Cruiser, for example. It kind of has, a little bit less input for it to be able to go. The Tacoma, though, would feel a little bit more direct than this, I would say, just to give you guys kind of like a reference point. Other than that, though, it's a good steering rack. It's really comfortable, and it kind of has that like luxury feel because of how light it is. Let's get a little acceleration here with the 4Runner. Yeah, and I mean, that V6 has an okay amount of power. I would, again, I've said this with a lot of Toyota's models, I'd prefer, you know, at least an 8-speed automatic, if not, you know, like a 10-speed automatic. I know that Lexus has that 10-speed. Toyota actually has an 8-speed in some of their cars, like the RAV4, for example. That being said, though, it's a decent amount of power, and again, you don't need a ton of power on the off-road. It would make the on-road driving a little bit more fun if this had more power, but it's definitely not necessary, and it's more than enough power for the off-road driving that is supposed to be done in the 4Runner Venture. Now, to wrap things up, if you're in the market for an off-road SUV, the 4Runner, I mean, they're selling in such huge numbers, and it's for good reason. It's kind of got that like old school SUV feeling, so you don't have to worry about all these complicated computers and all that kind of stuff. It's just a more old school SUV in general, and so if you want that and you want an off-road SUV, and obviously you don't want to pay the Toyota tax, which is the TRDs, then, you know, going for this Venture is definitely a really good thing, because it's got the, you know, a lot of upgrades similar to the TRD, but again, you're not paying the premium for the TRD, and I'm sure that's why Toyota made this new Venture model. There we have it, everyone, the 2020 Toyota 4Runner Venture. I really like this package. It's a great alternative to the TRD Pro, like I said. That all being said, though, if you are shopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and then again, a big shout and thank you to Brent Brown Toyota here in Orem, Utah, for providing us with the 4Runner. Check out their inventory in the link below if you're in the market for a new Toyota. If you're stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate if you'd subscribe. I'll see all of you in that next video.